Instead of Hullin Daf Amud Aleph, 3 lines down by the Gemara. We said that the case of Shehita for the sake of a mountain, we said is pasul. The Gemara says Pesula'in, it's only pasul. Ziv Hemet Himlo, but it's not considered a Avodah Zarah korban. It's not forbidden for benefit. Meaning you can't eat it, but you could sell it. Many v'stira hashmachad l'shum harim, some sodas for a mountain, and l'shum g'ba'ot for a hill, l'shum narot for a river, l'shum narot for a desert, l'shum hamal v'nafas and a moon, l'shum kochalim mazlot for the stars or the signs, l'shum Michael Sarah Hagadol, even for Michael the angel, l'shum shul katan, or even for a worm. Are eluz zivchim metin, this is a avodah zarah for benefit. Opposite of what our Mishnah said. The Gemara is not a question. Amar kabeh lakasha, had mar lehar, had mar legadadahar. Our Mishnah is a case where he said, for the sake of the mountain, and the Bar Testament case where he said it for the guardian or the guardian angel of the mountain. And they cannot make a proof to you because because we mentioned Michael the angel, therefore we're talking about the spirits and the guardians and angels, not the actual thing. If it's the actual mountain, no problem. That's not a problem. But if you do for angel, it's a problem. If someone's animal is lying in front of them, as soon as you cut one pipe for the sake of the idol, it's pasul for benefit. Because he had like the following. Even though Hachamim said someone who bows down in front of someone else's animal cannot make it asur. However, because I can't make your item asur, if I bow down to your animal, I can't make it asur. Everybody will be messing each other over like that. However, if you did an action like slaughtering it, that's a problem. Berta says, the question, because someone slaughtered a korban hatat outside the Beit HaMikdash on Shabbat, they have 3 different hataot. Why? One, slaughtering animal on Shabbat. Second, slaughtering a kedusha animal outside of the Beit HaMikdash. And third, for Avodah Zarah. If you want to say that once you cut one pipe for Avodah Zarah, make it pasul, if that's the case, then you should not be chayav for slaughtering an animal outside the Beit HaMikdash because it's already forbidden for benefit, for sure forbidden for a korban. Therefore, when he's cutting the second pipe, it's as if he's cutting nothing. Where I said the answer is our office came from a bird hatat. The kulu because they only need one pipe. Therefore, the slaughtering happened in one shot. Miftin, 1 second. Ravuna kimanda marash marada ula. Who did he say like? Ula mase kodu kamar. He said with Ula, and Ula said even a minimal act makes it pasul. Bird doesn't help us. Where it says okay, maybe even an animal, but from my case where he said it's doing for the avodah at the end of the slaughtering. Okay. Yeah, if that's the case. My idea hatat la ishbun zebach. That's the case. Why mention the hatat? Any korban. Right? Because usually the hatat, the whole point is they mention hatat because that happens at the end of the slaughtering. But if you're mentioning at the end of the slaughtering, then any korban. The Gemara says, the case is where the half of the windpipe was already damaged before you already cut before he started slaughtering. And when he cut it slightly, it finished it off. Therefore, the Avodah Zarah status with the slaughtering outside and on Shabbat all happened at the same time. If Rav Huna did not mention one pipe, and then the problem with Khatat would not have been a question against it. Because why? He could have just said, when he mentions an act, he mentions a big act, meaning cutting 2 pipes. But the fact that he mentioned one pipe, that's how he got himself in trouble with Khatat. Rav Huna did not mention the case of someone else's animal. There won't be a problem with Khatat. My time why? Because why? If it was a small act, I can make my own animal pasul, but not your animal pasul, like we said earlier. Mshita was saying Hiddush, we know that already. Marathon, but I thought since you already owned it regarding to kapara for hatat, therefore it may be mine to make it. Since I'm slaughtering it for you for the hatat, maybe I could take kapara. Maybe therefore I have an ownership on it. Therefore I can make it asur. Kamashlan, therefore we say that's not the case. In that regard, it's not. Now, okay. Rav Nachman all disagree with what Rav Huna and Ula said regarding slaughtering someone else's animal for Avodah Zarah. And Adam said the Vasha Inshallah, a person cannot make somebody else's item asur if it doesn't belong to him. Meant to have a question. So we mentioned the case of the bird that you slaughtered outside of the Midrash on Shabbat. Yachayav, and the reason why Yachayav is because it was the bird he's slaughtering it at the same time. It becomes Chayav, but not an animal. If you just said that if a person can't make someone else's item asur, my area hatat. Oh, if I mentioned bird, I feel hatat not even an animal hatat because it wouldn't be asur at all. Meaning the only reason we said bird because once you slaughter a little bit, you're chayav, but for the bird, for the make it pasul for avodah. But over here, if it's not, if I can't make your item pasul for avodah, it doesn't have to be bird. It could be an animal and it cuts through the first and second pipe, no problem. Gemara says, "Kevin de kanya le lechapara b'degdameh." It could not mention anything because since he owns the korban regarding for kapara, it's as if is his to make it asur, and therefore not a question. Tashma, another question. Shnaim or hazin bisakim v'shachim. Two people hold a knife and slaughter. Our Mishnah said if one has intention to slaughter for the mountains and stuff, and the one person has it for the legitimate purpose, she'll be like pasul. Seemingly, I can make someone else item asur. Gemara says no. They have a partnership. Tashma. Another question: how mitameh? If someone makes someone else's fruits tameh, or if I mix if I mix some teruma into your regular fruits, now you don't know which one's which. But menasech, or I make your yain nesech. Basically, I put it with a mistake. It's matur. The mizid hayav you did on purpose hayav for damages. But how is that possible? How can I make your wine nesech if it's yours? The Gemara says hachanami the itlish with the it's also my case where there's partnership, and that's how I can make it pasul. Okay. Ketanaim, we have a chok tanaim. אבל חכמים שנסח יענו של ישראל שלא בפני אברכים. If a goy did made nesach for Jews wine, not in front of a zara, asur makes it asur. We didn't they say it's mutar for two reasons. Because they first hold that nesach has been in front of an idol directly. They had, and we don't hold that. They had another reason is because the Jew can tell the goy, lo ko hemen I don't. It's not within your rights to use my wine for your avodah zarah. It's not within your rights to make my wine asur. Okay. I feel Adam will say the law. Even according to the opinion, it says that someone can make someone else's item that's not his. To Kuti. But according to a Jew who says avodah zarah with someone else's property, he's doing it just to make that person upset. But he doesn't actually have in mind to do avodah zarah. Tashma, let's have 1 second. Shnaim achazim b'zakin shratim. In case of the Mishnah, the people throwing knife together. Hashim menachem elevach hashim lo shesh kana pasul. Why is it pasul? Maybe he's just angering him. Why is it asur? Marshal Haskin be so Amumar to a renegade Jew, and therefore he might have actually that bad intention for avodah zarah. Tashma b'ni proof. And the may have an azech. Mishuk betu b'mizachayav. In the case of the yain azech or truma and stuff, we said also you can make it asur. Why? I thought it's not on purpose. The Gemara says Hachanami also a renegade Jew. What if the guy warned the Jew and he even accepted upon him warning by himself? Is he still just trying to prank the guy and upset him, or he actually is taking him seriously because now they can punish him for it? If they warned him, for sure he's a renegade, for sure he's having avodah zarah intent, and it would be asur.